He looks like somebody just walked out of a video by Toto. You keep expecting him going to discover himself down in Africa.
You just spat at me when you were doing that. Please stop salivating when you talk about Michael Bay movies. So Ice Age 3, big movie for the summer holidays coming out, and I can tell from your body language how you're gearing this one up. Anyway,
you can tell from the fact that I was spitting at you when I was talking about Michael Bay's haircut.
It's a cartoon, it's in 3D. What else do we need to know?
Here's the plot: 378, 624, and therefore 850. Explain to me why that's the plot.
Box office takings would be my guess.
First one took 378 million worldwide in 2002-ish, I think it was. Ice Age: The Meltdown, which was theoretically The Meltdown, took 624 million in 2006. So if we project that, that means 850 million for this new one. There is no other reason for it to exist.
That's a pretty good reason.
At least, well, fine. As long as we understand from the very outset that when people talk about continuation of the story and returning to characters everyone knows and loves, and expanding things and broadening things out and widening things out, they're not talking about plot, narrative, story, but what they're talking about is finance. They're just talking about, so effectively, what we could be on the money program now. Okay, we could be reviewing this simply by looking at the money. Well, I will play you a clip just so that you can hear a little bit of what it's meant to sound like. But what narrative there is in the story is some of the characters that you knew before are still walking.
One of the characters?
Oh, mammoths, sloths. John Leguizamo lisping. I could do an impression of John Leguizamo, but since I spat at you doing Michael Bay, if I do the lisping, John Leguizamo, you'll get rained on. They're walking, and one of them's pregnant, and so there's a maternity-paternity issue going on. The John Leguizamo one finds some eggs buried in the ice, and then it turns out that under the ice there are dinosaurs, which I think explains the anachronistic collision of animals. So I'm not entirely sure that it's based on fact.
Well, dinosaurs came before the animals, didn't they?
Well, they're under the ice now. And anyway, so they fall down under the ice where there's a whole other world. It's sort of like Journey to the Centre of the Earth with dinosaurs. And then another character comes up who's got a voice which is done by somebody who we know on the show. Here's a clip.
Say something.
Thanks for saving us.
Buck, will you help us find the floppy green thing?
That's not necessary.
Yes, it is.
All right, I'll help you. But I got rules. Rule number 1, always listen to Buck. Rule number 2, stay in the middle of the trail. Rule number 3... He who has gas travels at the back of the pack. Come on then, chop chop.
We should all have our heads examined.
That's rule number 4. Now let's go find your friend.
Who's that then?
Well, it sounded like Danny Baker.
That's right, it was. Five Live's very own Danny Baker is starring in Simon Pegg.
Pretending to be Danny Baker.
Pretending to be Danny Baker.
606 with Simon Pegg. That has a ring to it.
It's one of those things in which, obviously my cynicism about it is quite... Because I did say for the first couple of Ice Age movies, it was the death of narrative cinema in that what was happening was it was a completely modular film system, okay?
What does that mean?
It means that it's completely modular, meaning that all the bits exist modally, right? You know what modal jazz is?
Well, could you just sort of start at the beginning?
Well, yes. In
I
fact,
don't want to know about modal jazz. Just tell me about a film that's fully modular.
No, but funnily enough, that can you just start at the beginning is almost exactly what I would have said was the problem with Ice Age 3. Because the problem with Ice Age 1 and 2 and 3 is you could start at any point and you could do that sequence.
Is that what modular means?
Modular, yeah, they're modular. They're modes. Modules. You can take them out. You can take out the modules. You can replace them in any order. It doesn't make any sense because there's no narrative thread. So there's the bit with Scrat and the acorn, right? The little thingy going around chasing after the acorn. You could have put that in any of the 3 films. In this one, there's a little bit of a distraction that some way through stops being interested in the acorn, starts being interested in a girl, ends up being interested in the acorn again. It's just the way it works out. Okay, modular. Lots of bits of walking, big, animals walking along, modular. Can put them in any order you want. Dinosaur chases, dinosaur escapes. Dinosaur chases, dinosaur escapes. People threaten, people modular. Doesn't matter what order you do them in. The BBFC's report, which as usual is one of the most brilliant bits of film criticism we ever get offered. U certificate, okay? So it is at least being passed for all audiences.
Well,
and I have to say, yes, in its great defence, unlike Transformers, which has Megan Fox, leaning over a motorbike and therefore making it completely inappropriate for younger
viewers. At that moment, you did your put the bottom in the air routine.
Can't do. Megan Fox.
Looks like you're about to
without
break
doing
wind,
that. No,
actually.
well, funnily enough, that's almost what I thought as I was watching the film. But at least it doesn't have any of that leeriness. At least it doesn't have sleepy la beef, snoozy la pork in it. At least it doesn't think that what it has to do is satisfy some adolescent 15-year-old. It's a kids' movie. But they say this is brilliant. It contains scenes of threat, mild comic violence and innuendo, right? Pregnant Ellie is menaced by several predatory dinosaurs whilst in labour, but the characters are rescued by their friends in a moderately intense 10-minute action sequence, okay? Moderately intense, and there is some mild innuendo and my favourite, bottom humour. Okay, that you are
That's a
allowed to have.
must-see then, isn't it?
You are allowed to have moderately intense action, mild innuendo, and bottom humour.
How much bottom humour before you stop being a U and becoming a PG?
I think once it goes from being bottom humour to being Megan Fox, it immediately goes straight up into the 12 certificate. Okay, now, so point number one, it's completely innocuous if you're not bothered by something existing only as a cash cow, but at least a cash cow that's aimed at a younger audience and doesn't necessarily sully its hands by attempting to play to the nuts ladsbag audience, which is great. I mean, I assume that no nuts-reading teenagers will go and see Ice Age 3. Second problem is it's 3D, and you know that I have this issue with 3D being just an industry way of trying to pretend that piracy is a big problem and we can all solve piracy by all paying more money to go and see 3D movies, and it's an immersive experience and it's great, the whole future is going to be 3D and all these 3D screens have to be paid for, therefore we have to pay the extra money to get the glasses, yadda. But in the end it's an industry thing, it's nothing to do with us, the audience, it's nothing to do with giving you a better viewing experience. Well, I saw Ice Age 3D in 3D, although there are also 2D prints of it, and it was the moment at which I finally thought, okay, that's it, they're really, I'm right, this 3D thing is just for nobody's benefit other than the filmmakers. There's just no reason for it to be in 3D at all. The only reason for it to be in 3D is that it has a 3 in the... See, they're calling it Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs, but if you call it Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs 3D, you remind people that it's the third instalment in the same way as all those slasher movies in the 1980s, you know, like Friday the 13th 3D, Amityville 3D, you're remembering all of these. Jaws 3D.
Yes.
This time it's personal.
I remember going to
Yeah,
see that.
fine. So all of those, suddenly there was a spate of third one movies in 3D. There is really no reason for Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs to be 3D. There's one sequence in which they're on the back of, I think it's a pterodactyl, but I'm not entirely biologically sure what it was, because to be honest, all the creatures, they all kind of look cute and cuddly. And if you have young children, there are some cute baby dinosaurs that will make them do that noise.
What, the dinosaurs or
no, the kids. You know, like when kids see other cute like baby things, right? And they go, oh! Actually, particularly, you know, younger.
It's a girl thing. I don't think boys do that, make that noise, really.
I don't think you should make those kind of gender distinctions.
Well,
because I think that's you know that's driving a line between. I think everyone should feel free to do it. But there are some quite cute dinosaurs.
Everyone can feel free to. In general, though, it's girls who go, oh, sweet.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, but although
right, so you're joining me in the dividing line.
No, I'm not. I'm going to stand on the line of equality, and I could say, you know, young boys and girls alike, when they see the little dinosaurs hatch out the eggs, are able to go, oh, sweet, in 3D. But beyond this pterodactyl flying sequence and the cuddly bit, the whole movie would look essentially exactly the same in 2D, and you wouldn't have to sit there wearing those glasses and coming out thinking, why have I just had to... And the worst thing about it is that because the numbers stack up as they do, you know, I said whatever it was, 324, 650, 850, everyone's going to go, well, look, Ice Age 3 was a 3D hit, therefore everything has to be 3D, and we're going to spend the next 5 years of our life watching 3D movies until Hollywood finally realises that piracy is not going to be solved by this 3D revolution. The 3D revolution isn't going to happen in the way that everyone thinks it is, and actually cinema is designed to be 2D CinemaScope, 235. That's the shape of the script. People every now and then they say, oh, let's have odorama, let's have sense around, let's have feel around, let's have, you know, all those things. Doesn't make any difference. We'll all end up back where we started, and can we just move to that point now and stop having us wear the headache-inducing glasses?